Welcome back, everyone. I am joined by the assistant sports editor for the Telegram and Gazette and Home Team Magazine, Jim Wilson. And really, here we are now. We're done with the Central Mass Super Bowls. Now we're on to the Central Western Mass Super Bowls. And then hopefully we have a few teams playing in Gillette. But we can go through the games, the Central Mass, Western Mass Super Bowls. And then if there's time, we can kind of look back at some of the Central Mass Super Bowls because it's strange. It's a strange feel. You got 4 games this Saturday, starting with Division II, St. John's and Springfield Central. Springfield Central is the juggernaut. And if anyone who saw the Shriners game last year saw just how talented the Springfield Central team is. Now, these were all kids that were seniors and graduating, but, man, they had a ton of talent, and the coach just has a program going on out there.
Exactly. But you don't stop being, at that level, you don't stop being good overnight.
Right.
They still have the kids in the system. And they're probably one of the toughest teams St. John's has faced all year. But remember, we said for last month and a half how good Leominster was, and St. John's came in with a very impressive win, showed that, you know what, hey, our defense may give up some points, but they're like a fat kid at a knockout party. They're just going to start just throwing haymakers, and you know what, and they'll beat, hey, we'll give up 30, but we're going to score 50, so try to stop us. So that's what it comes down to. They have a great offense. In Springfield Central, they played Everett the first week of the season and lost. And losing to Everett's no shame. That's a great loss for them. They haven't lost since.
Right.
So really, right there, Springfield, they show they belong there. They're going to give St. John's all they can do. The quarterback threw for 340 yards and 4 touchdowns last week against Westfield to beat them to get there. They're there for a reason.
I'm still a fat kid at the knockout party. Still has me. St. John's. One thing I think Springfield Central hasn't seen, even having played Everett. Everett has a good passing attack, but Everett always has a great running game. They will not have seen a team that passes the ball as well as St. John's and not have seen a quarterback like Drew Smiley that can pass it and run it like he can. And like we've been saying, you and I, for the past 4 weeks, 5 weeks, however, since that first St. John's Marlboro meeting.
Right.
Right now, what the St. John's coaches are doing is letting Smiley win games. Go back. If you want to run, run. If you see something, throw. But they're letting him win games, and he has taken that team on his back. I mean, he takes his shirt off. He's got to have the Superman seal on his chest because he is carrying that team.
Exactly. You know what? They say give the ball to your best player, and that's how you win games. That's what Smiley does so much for them to win these games with his arm and his legs. He can throw. McGillicuddy is great. He's great options in the receivers. They've really come along as the season goes on. Shane Combs is a great option in the backfield. So they have that. If you want to cover, put a spy on Smiley, he can take the ball and run with it. But, I mean, really, like you said, they scored 50 points in the last 3 weeks of the playoffs against some really good teams.
Yes.
That's impressive right there. So I think Springfield Central sees that, and they know they're going to be ready for it. Because, Springfield Central, we said earlier, they have a great quarterback. I mean, he's more of a pocket guy. He threw for over 2,000 yards this year. St. John's has seen that kind of guy, a couple times this season.
Right.
So, I mean, right there, I think they're ready for it. They have a good shot at going to Gillette.
And you look at the secondary with Cam Murphy, Davon Jones, Drew Smiley being put back there against Leominster. He played defensive back against Leominster. I love that. I love St. John's putting Smiley back there as a free safety, and he had the game clinching interception in that game. Smiley's an athlete, and we've talked about this. He's a lacrosse player. It's not just, hey, he's just a quarterback, hands off, where's the red jersey? He's a guy that hits all spring. So, and during the preseason said to me, he wanted to play defense, and he was lobbying, trying to convince John Andrioli to play a little bit of defense. Now's the time of the season where you can put him in because you're not worried about that wear and tear, affecting him 2-3 weeks down the line.
Right.
Because here it's win or go home, and now it's a 2-game season, essentially. You have this and you have Gillette. But I think he brings a lot to that defensive secondary.
He's a good leader. He's going to the Naval Academy to become an officer for a reason. He is that sort of inherent, follow me into battle, kind of Braveheart type of stuff.
Yep.
And let's lead the charge. And I think that's, obviously, St. John's has put on such a run recently. That's no coincidence. I mean, this team knew they were built for a postseason. They're showing it. It's done, they got to be careful, though, to not have last week's win over Leominster be their Super Bowl.
Right.
Because they know coming into it. They lose this week. Not too many people are talking about that game anymore.
Right, and that was such a huge game for them emotionally. I mean, what it meant, that whole senior class had never beaten Leominster.
Right.
It was at Doyle Field. Now, this one's on the road. Again, you get a long trip out to Westfield. Shane Combs, you brought up. We talked about him before the Leominster game because he's such a different player now than he was at the beginning of the year when they played Leominster. He's so much more comfortable in that offense, and the team has so much more confidence in him. I think they're going to need a big game from him, too, just to take, if they're going to, because I'm sure Springfield Central's going to have some spy. They're going to have some kind of trick defenses to try to stop Smiley or contain him. If you can hit Shane Combs in there and gash them a few times, then maybe you get them back on their heels.
Right. That's what they have to do. Like you say, he's not going to sneak up on anybody. They know, even though this is the first time they're seeing him, it's no secret what St. John's is going to try to do.
Right.
Those stats you put up, you look at the box scores the last couple weeks, they know,
Right.
what they're going to do to try to win. They're going to try to neutralize that.
Doherty, Wauconah, Division 4. Now, Doherty is a bigger school than Wauconah. Most of these matchups kind of match up size-wise. This game's at Doyle Field, so a pseudo home game for the Central Mass team. Doherty's just been rolling. They have got to be coming in with a ton of confidence in coming into this game, and especially beating a team like Shepherd Hill that was so physical, that was so big up front, that had been so good all season long. You know, their only loss coming in was to Leominster, Shepherd Hill. So, you know, they've taken and they've faced every kind of football team. They've faced a double wing team. They've faced the wide open spread offense of St. Peter Marion. So you're not going to throw anything at Doherty that they haven't already seen, plus that they can't already adapt to with guys like Alfred Adarkwa and Isaac Yadam. You know, I mean, those guys are just gamers.
Right. That's, you know, Doherty knows they're one of the best seasons in school history right now. They don't want to end on a short note. They say, well, it was a great season, but we lost in Western Mass. They want to, you know, at this point, they want to play at Gillette, and they know Wauconah. They have played every different kind of team. You know, with Shepherd Hill and you know, and all those teams, the spread offenses, the ground and pound ones. They got Wauconah, who's more of a running 3 yards in a cloud of dust type of team. Good quarterback, good running back. You know, they're back-to-back Western Mass champs. Their defense is great, which should be a good option to watch. The Agawam's a very good team. They shut them out 20-0 last week. So right there, the defense is playing really well. You know, I don't know if I'm just being a Central Mass guy or not, but I have a hard time thinking that Wauconah has seen a team like Doherty with so many ways to beat you. Yeah. You know, with Brennan, you know, Brennan quarterback can be, you know, has different options in Adarkwa and Isaac Yadam. You know, they have a great running back, Jakari Carpenter. He's over 1,000 yards. Not too many people are talking about him because he did such a great job at North last couple of years. Comes over to Doherty, just blends in seamlessly. But you know, people are looking at Yadam and Adarkwa and Kaman and all those guys. Mitch Salaj. They have such great weapons in the air. You know, Carpenter can carve you up.
Yes, and I think they'll call on him to do that. I think, and that's what they do. Doherty is so great with that, where they'll spread teams out defensively, and those linebackers will be peeking peripheral vision, looking at the wide receivers out of the corner of their eyes, looking at the slot guys, and then boom, they run Carpenter right up the gut, and he gashes it for 12, 15 yards, or he takes it the distance. I don't think Wauconah has seen a quarterback like Luke Brennan. I don't think that they're, and you can watch a guy on film, but to be out on the field and see how strong his arm really is, and to see how fast he is and what a good runner he is, I don't think you can simulate that in practice. So I think when they get out there the first couple series, it may be like one of those, whoa, I can't believe this kid can throw it that far.
And it's really important. I mean, I remember back in September we were talking about Doherty, and after that Holy Name game, how they, know, how many problems they have to sort of iron out before they get to be this team that could be contender for Gillette. They have done that and then some. I mean, it's been, you know, Shepherd Hill was probably their toughest test in the last couple of weeks just because they've been so good. You know, quabbing in the postseason, they were at the point where they're taking pictures on the sideline at the end of the game. I mean, they knew it was party time out there.
Right.
I think they're tested, they're confident. I think that's a really good trait. It's not cocky because they know they lose this week. You know what? They have a game against Burncoat coming up and Thanksgiving. You know, if they get that one, they're not overlooking everything. They're really going into Burncoat in Thanksgiving, knowing even if they're playing the next week or not, they're going to try to win that game. They're playing starters.
Right. And it'll be an odd feeling, if you're going to Gillette. If Doherty's going to Gillette and then you have the Thanksgiving Day game against Burncoat, it's a different feeling. Now, Division 5, you have Northbridge and Hoosac Valley. This one's up in Leominster as well. Northbridge, we've talked about this the last couple weeks too. A veteran line, sophomores at the skill position, but those sophomores now aren't sophomores anymore. And Kobe Schofer's shown that. The last maybe month, the last 4 games, he has played like he's a 3-year starter at varsity. Just the decisions he makes, the way he beats teams, and he may be more dangerous right now with his feet than with his arm, but he is such a playmaker back there at quarterback.
He's really come on. Like you said, you don't think of him as a sophomore because he's done so much. Especially look at his game tapes early in the season against even in the losses against Auburn and Tantascwa, and they look at how good they've been as an overall team. They found out who they are. They found out how to win these games. And Schofer's really taken them there. I mean, he's rushed for over 1,000, passed for over 1,000. He's going to be something to watch for the next couple of years.
And you got Jake Wood, another sophomore, who's a running back, who's almost like in the mold of Jakari Carpenter, where he doesn't get the headlines. Right. He's not going to get, he's not going to stand out to you. But he's a guy that I think plays a key role in this game for Northbridge. And then Tom Tabor and Connor Gatto, just the big beef up front. You get two huge guys like that, you start moving piles.
Right, and you know what? They're going to be called upon against Hoosac Valley because I think that's more of a, they're a tough team. I think they beat their only loss this season was to Wacona, and that was 8-7. So that's they're really close to being a perfect team out there in Western Mass. They've scored over 40 points, I think 5 times this year. So so I think their offense is capable of just putting some numbers on the board. They rushed for over 350 yards last week, so they're a really dangerous offense. It's for that defensive line to be tested to sort of contain that a little bit and force them to look outside and let the linebackers do their jobs.
And I know it's been a while since we've had the Central Western Mass Super Bowls, but the Western Mass teams got used to the trick plays of Northbridge and looking for it, and they actually called it the Northbridge pass. Was that double pass where the quarterback gets it, skips it on the ground out to the receiver, who gets it and throws. We'll see if they have a long memory or a short one, and if they do indeed get tricked up by some of those trick plays that Northbridge is going to throw at them, and I love that. Ken LaChapelle is going to throw everything in the playbook at him.
Exactly, and that Ken loves this kind of stuff because he already has his first play drawn up, where it's some sort of weird trick play. He knows what he's running. He's had this in an envelope from the start of the season.
Yep.
He knows and Hoosac Valley is going to be ready for a team that uses all of the field. I mean, they use from sideline to sideline. They're capable of putting up some points.
Now, Division 6, you have Littleton, Turners Falls. Littleton is another team coming in on a roll, coming in with loads of confidence. And we've talked a lot about Alex McLaughlin. He's had such a great year running the football, throwing the football. Travis Bassett was the key to the win last week in getting him to the Central Mass, Western Mass Super Bowl. He was outstanding.
And Turners, it's a good matchup for these guys. Because no secret, I've been a Beaver believer for all season. Ride till I die with Valley Tech, and Littleton showed me they're for real. They've been tested. They have a great win over Valley Tech last week to get here. They deserve to be here. We talked about McLaughlin all week. I don't think Littleton's ever had a quarterback like this. He's one of the best around, just because he does so much for that offense.
Yes.
And so I think that'll be tough for Turners Falls to contain, because Turners they're sort of a good matchup. We had the story in the paper today how like mirror image of these teams are with each other as far as what they want to do on offensively, the spread and the looks, option stuff. There should be a good matchup as far as who has the better. They bring the best you have. Best team wins.
What do you think happens? I think Central Mass goes 4-0. What's your prediction?
4-0 is a lot. I think there's always one team at Western Mass we underrate a little bit. Give me 3.
3-1, Jim Wilson. I got 4-0. We're out of time. That's it for the Frenzy, a season with Jim Wilson. Willie, thanks for joining us all season long.
Thanks.
We're back with more of the Frenzy Extra right after this.